Immens Messi, encara 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 Messi, gol, 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 gol.
Goal! Yes, yes, yes. Money Matrix, we back locked in for another episode. I'm your boy Seb.
I'm Micky.
And today we're taking a look at sports, in particular football, and what's going on right now.
So much going on. The madness.
So much going on. All right, let's speak with the hot topic right now. Freaking Saudi Arabia, Arab money. They got Neymar. They got Benzema. They got Ronaldo.
They got Kante.
They got Kante.
And they probably got a couple of dons from League One as well, just making a bag load of money, bro.
So we've been seeing the craziness that's happening. Saudi Arabia has really forced its way into the forefront of a lot of sports commentators, even the everyday person that supports the club, like
Bro,
a guy from Newcastle.
You know the thing, man.
So what's going on, man? What's going on? Let's talk about the Saudi Arabia PIF taking over the domestic pro league clubs.
Bro, I feel like the numbers are mad. Since 2001, early 2001, can you believe that Saudi have spent $6
billion in 2 years.
Bill.
That's
On
certain
just sports.
That's certain countries' GDP gross domestic
They don't
products.
make that. There's countries that don't make that amount of money, and they spent that just on sports. So obviously, right now we're talking about football, but the boxing thing, the golf thing.
Yeah,
that's even wilder than football. Actually, I don't know if you followed that, but that's
100%. So
I guess boxing, Anthony Joshua fought a couple of times there.
Facts. Let's talk about like the live golf stuff actually. Quick thing before we go deeper into the football. Essentially, with the live golf, what was happening was Saudi Arabia. They've essentially established a strategy, and they've seen sports as a center for growth and as a way for the country to develop. There's politics attached to it, but there's also like a business case behind it.
For sure.
If we look at it at the core, Saudi Arabia is trying to diversify their economy.
Exactly.
We know that they've built a majority of their wealth through oil, but what about in the future? You're not just going to be an oil producing nation forever. You've got huge reserves in terms of cash, in terms of equities.
Well, they got one of the biggest. The PIF is what? I don't think it's the biggest. I think it's the second biggest
sovereign wealth fund.
Because the Norwegian one.
Them man are
untouchable,
they're not
right?
playing.
But that's a big one.
But the Saudis, as we said in one of our previous Money Matrix episodes, they've invested in the Vision Fund along with Mayoshi-san, and they've invested in venture capital. They're actually one of the major investors in Uber, actually, funnily enough, which is quite interesting.
The Saudis are huge.
And as of recent, they're looking at sports. They've done technology now. They're looking at the sports industry.
Yeah, but on that as well, just because, we talk about Apple being like just the biggest company in the world, 3 trillion?
Yep.
Saudi Aramco, yeah?
Aramco, that is actually
close to 10 trillion, bro.
That's $10 trillion. So you heard it here, yeah? Apple is not the world's most valuable company.
Nowhere near it.
Yeah, 5 times bigger than Apple.
Yeah, close to 3 times.
3 times, yeah.
Which is mad.
Saudi Arabia, Aramco, and they're like the world's biggest, I guess, oil producer to a certain extent.
Yeah, they basically have the monopoly on the oil in the country, right? They are it's basically the oil producer for the country. Like Saudi are doing all of this. It's a smart move, by the way, and it's not just Saudi who's doing this. China is probably the one that first realized that this was a thing that you need to do as an economy.
Yeah.
Essentially, China had this mad rapid growth, right? Mm-hmm. And the way that they grew was by producing goods for very cheap and selling it.
Yeah.
But then as you're getting bigger as a country and you've got more money in the country, right? Wages get increased. Cost of production gets actually more expensive, and then you get competing countries, Vietnam, Indonesia, all of these countries start producing the things China was producing even cheaper. So for China, what they realized is they need to become a more middle income country. What that means is they need to actually produce not just goods but services, and they need to keep money circulating in the economy. So remember, the Chinese, they tried to do the football thing too.
Yeah, they had Tevez and them, man.
They
had Hulk. Yeah,
Oscar.
They had their moment.
Ramirez from Chelsea.
Yeah, that was mad.
Because I thought I'd never rated that guy, but then I remember that he did that chip against Barca.
Yeah,
and and then next season you're just gone. But that flopped in China. I don't think the Saudi one's gonna flop because I think the Saudis have
It's
learned
a
their
bit more-
lessons
yep.
and they got way more liquid cash than
Facts.
China.
Facts,
Because,
facts.
as you said, bro, they got trillions just sitting.
And also in China, one of the reasons why it might not have been so successful and why I can see it work with Saudi Arabia is because of the whole political structure in China. It's a socialist / communist based sort of society, and one of the issues that the government didn't like was that these players were getting paid really high wages, and that would have caused a bit of civil unrest within the country, right?
It does. That kind of
did.
stuff
That's
creates
what-
issues. Yeah, for sure. And also, like, you've got to remember, China is a government in where it's, as you said, it's close to a socialist government, but it's a government in a traditional sense of like what we know right now. Saudi is a monarchy, which is like culturally just means very different things, right? You don't have that same. The government doesn't have to do as much in terms of to keep its power.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't, like China, like Xi Jinping is still having to do madness to maintain his power. Right?
Facts.
MBS doesn't have to do as much. They don't have that population is not as big and there's a lot more money there. So they've got a lot more freedom to be able to do things like this. But beyond it, the thing with Saudi is as well, right? You've got to think regionally as well. It's in a really good spot. It's right in the Middle East. It's quite close to Europe.
Yeah.
It's close to Africa. It's close to Asia. So there's a lot of potential for crossover travel for people to come there. I haven't been to Saudi, but it's warm weather. People go to Dubai. So why are people not going to go to Saudi to go watch Ronaldo or whatever it might be? And we know it works because, I mean, look at the amount of following that the Saudi Sports League is getting nowadays. I
Yes.
think,
Let's take the club Al Nassr that Cristiano Ronaldo went to, right? Before he went, how many? I think it was 2 million followers or something that they had, or even,
yeah,
even
it's
less
tiny.
than
What is it now?
that. Let's find out. I think it's close to.
Isn't he on like 600 million now followers on Insta? Like he broke that record recently. Like that was like the first person to do it. But even without the Insta thing, like when he joined them, according to the Saudis, they said that attendance in the Pro League increased by 150%.
Yep.
So
Facts.
imagine just like that's Ronaldo.
That is crazy.
And they've been adding all of these players, and the way that they've done it, that's interesting though, is MLS is a good example as well, right? Remember, like, not before Messi and that, there used to be like players going to the MLS, but they were like the twilight years, right? Like, I know Gerrard went there for like 6 months, Rooney went there for like 8 months, but they were like just going there for a couple of months, really.
Yep.
Now they're actually getting these guys who are older for sure, but they're still got a couple of years, and they're like still really like big attractions, like globally. Like Ronaldo is a big deal. Benzema is the current Ballon d'Or, like the current best player in the world.
Is there?
Yeah, and then what's the like? How many followers they got there?
Yeah, so it's gone from 860k followers to 18.2.
Oh my god,
20 times more.
Oh
20x more followers, which is brazy. So from 860,000 to 18 million.
And they said that basically the valuation of their league prior to all of this was about 800 million. They want to make it 2 billion by 2030. I think they'll smash that.
Yeah, easily.
I think very soon they'll probably end up
I'm
seeing them
man
with Champions League.
I'm already seeing man wearing the Al Hilal and Al Nassr shirts. Like,
so many, bro.
They've done it good. I can't lie.
No, they're moving. I mean, they got Neymar as well. And the thing with it, actually, with the Saudis, what's genius with the move, right, is that actually, if you like, I haven't seen people talk about this, right? But they're not just getting sick players, but they're getting players who are dominant geographically. So think about Neymar, right?
Yeah.
Like Neymar is, people in Europe, whatever, might hate on Neymar. Neymar is a god in Brazil.
True.
Right?
Yep.
Think about Ronaldo.
Yes.
God, Portugal, but around the world, right? Think about Kante. Think about like Mane in Africa.
Yes.
First of all,
a very humble guy everyone loves.
Mane
Yeah.
and Ronaldo in the same team now. But imagine, like, how many Africans are now going to be supporting Al Nassr? Yeah, because Mane is there. Koulibaly's at another club.
Yep.
They've got this
Even
guy,
Benzema is a
France,
bit
do you get what I mean?
France.
So they're
Like,
getting superstars, top guys from each of these countries. So they're moving mad.
That's fine.
And you know what? I rate it.
But there's one guy that they didn't get and they tried.
Leo.
So Lionel Messi, they're about to give him the maddest contract.
Maddest.
Like anyone has ever seen.
I think like the Mbappe thing blew everyone's mind, yeah. But I think the Messi would have been way more.
Yes.
Way more. Like, I mean, the Mbappe thing was so big, Americans started referring to the sport as football.
Yeah. Oh wow.
He
actually got them changing the
you know
terminology.
what, LeBron's
No.
like, yo, I'm gonna play in football now. All right. You know what I mean?
We got NBA stars looking to switch sports to
no more
football.
soccer. But the Messi thing was mad.
So the Messi thing, let's talk about it. This is
Yeah.
also a great phenomenon that's happened. We're seeing Saudi Arabia is a big player, but then America and the Major League Soccer league, they're trying to get their way in as well, right? I feel like they've been doing this for a good 5 to 10 years. They started their strategy
2007.
2007.
David Beckham, LA Galaxy. When was that? That was huge, by the way. David Beckham is a revolutionary, by the way. The guy is a genius in terms of, I don't know who does his business dealings. I don't know if it's himself. I don't know if it's Victoria. I don't know if it's his people. But when David Beckham moved to LA Galaxy, remember, they were trying to, they were paying what, 250 mil was a contract, if you remember. It was mad.
Yeah.
Remember then, I remember the Sun and all of these guys calculating how much he'll make per second. But the thing that people didn't really clock here was he got a mad deal to buy a football club in the US to start.
But
he said 25 mil, they told him.
Yep.
To start. Do you know how much it is now to get an MLS club? 500 mil.
I've heard it's actually 700.
Is it
I heard
there you go.
the newest MLS club being formed is cost 750 mil.
Imagine how much
they're
Beck's
saying,
made out of that.
They're saying the next one might cost $1 billion.
Well, easily.
And that's all kind of come from David Beckham, who
no,
essentially
he's a visionary on this.
parlayed
Yeah,
his position in the MLS. People were laughing at. He actually took apparently a 70% pay cut, but he got access to be able to buy a team, and he's essentially built up Inter Miami to be one of the biggest clubs.
The thing about David Beckham, that in itself is a genius move, right? It shows you that actually sometimes liquidity is not the key. It's like long-term assets, right?
Yeah.
It's a vision for the future, right? He might have taken a 70% pay cut, but the actual amount, the asset he is getting, imagine a buy-in for 25 mil now worth $1 billion is insane. And the way he did it was mental too. I think he got the 25 mil and then he sold a bunch of stakes. So yeah, he basically had like, I don't know, very little ownership of that club.
Yeah.
And then once it started getting off the ground, once the approval for the team happened and whatnot, he started buying stuff back.
Yeah.
Right? So he's clawed back enough to still be like a predominantly big part of that ownership group, innit?
So they're saying since David Beckham arrived in the MLS, the average valuation of MLS franchises has surged from 37 million in 2008 to 582 million in 2022, giving it a 1,472% increase.
Yeah.
Hold tight, Dave. You should get the sir for that.
Nah,
and give him the high.
I want
give
that
him the
David
knighthood
Beckham
for
ETF,
that.
bro. I want that David Beckham ETF, bro. I want to invest in Becks.
What a guy!
But the thing, like, so let's go back to the Messi thing.
Yes,
the Messi thing is actually, I think the Messi thing is so important because it shows you how scared the US are of Saudi Arabia, and actually how kind of in a way they don't have that same power and capacity to compete now, right? Think about Saudi.
Yes,
They just went and bankrolled the thing. They just went and bankrolled the thing.
So they were offering, was it like a $2 billion contract
I don't
or
remember
something?
the specifics, but it was a lot because I think they already pay him like 400-500 mil for the being ambassador for the 2030 World Cup, right?
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, bro.
Okay,
He's
that's
making
even...
no. Messi's already getting the bag.
Yep.
From the Saudis, like mills. But then the thing I think that's so interesting, right, is think about the Saudis. They're just bankrolling this. They're just out of their pocket,
just
gone.
ching.
And then they're paying the salary they're paying. How are they paying Benzema 150 M's a year? Like, not that he doesn't deserve it or he's not sick, but that's a lot of money, right? Imagine nowhere near Messi's salary, by the way. Messi got a similar deal to Beck's. He's
getting 60 mil a season in wages, just in pure wages, which is
not that like
it's like
a third of what Benzema, Ronaldo is getting.
Yep.
But where Messi, he's got the club. He can buy he can start a club.
Yes.
As well,
yep.
Once he retires, so that's big. The image rights, that's where it's gonna be, right? Like,
yes.
So they had to do a special deal with Adidas and Apple. So Apple already broke the record for the MLS
to buy the rights,
the
to
broadcasting,
stream
right? And Apple's, like Apple are a genius company because Apple sell products, but they're a marketing company, right? That's what they do. They Apple just market like no one ever, right? They will give you amazing product and they will sell you a dream that you just didn't even think is possible.
Yep.
So they clocked that Messi is just a huge opportunity for them, and we've already seen it. I mean, bro, I'm fucking looking at Inter Miami scores nowadays, man. I'm like, oh, what's my guy doing?
Facts.
But the fact that they had to get these huge juggernauts of a company, Adidas and Apple, to support them to be able to bring this guy over, tells you like how much power the Saudi league has in terms of the financial side of it, right?
Yep.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, the MLS
yeah.
couldn't just go and do that on its own. They were like, oh damn, we need to do they had to do a special deal essentially.
And apparently, as part of that deal, Messi gets a direct cut in revenues from the Apple MLS, I guess, streaming kind of deal.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Like never been done before.
Yeah, it's
Imagine
never
just
been
one guy
done
getting a
before.
deal.
And I think that's quite interesting because this links into other major tech companies which are trying. There's a huge war in streaming right now. Netflix, Disney, Amazon, Paramount, HBO. And essentially what's happening is the next area or battle that they're all in for is sports.
100%.
We're seeing it with obviously like the Premier League is probably going to be the last battleground, but we've seen it with Indian cricket,
IPL, mad.
We've seen it with American baseball. I think Apple got the rights to that. We've seen it with MLS. We've seen it with the NFL. The football, Amazon got, I think they've got the rights to Thursday night football or something like that. Boxing, UFC,
everything, yeah.
ESPN.
And the thing with live sports, and we actually had this conversation. I feel like Netflix really fumbled the bag here, right? Because live sports is the best content. If you're a media company, live sports, owning the right is the best content you can ever have.
Why?
Because you never have to produce the content. There's always great content all the time, right? Like, think about sports, like when you're like Premier League, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Sky don't have to do nothing. Yeah, they pay hand over fist to get those rights.
Yep.
But then, boom, you've just got content. 20.
Not just that.
And then the secondary content as well. Think about it. Now, all of the podcasts, all the fan channels, all of the like add-ons, media,
the media
program that emerge out of it.
I mean, talking about media, apparently Apple and Messi are already working on a 4-part documentary.
Bruh, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my God.
So we're ready for that one.
I can't wait for that one, to be honest. And I know Apple gonna do it nice as well. Might have to do like something like emotional with the World Cup or whatnot.
So what do you think is the next step for the MLS? They've got Messi. The league is starting to grow. Like, are they ever going to be a competitor to the European leagues, to the Premier League? Like, how does this all pan out in relation to like the global sphere? Because we know Europe has solidified itself. The Champions League,
Premier League. I think like the rest of the European football is struggling, you know. And like,
interesting. Okay.
Part of it is like stuff like the Saudi league, more so than the MLS. But all of these leagues are creating ridiculous pressures in European football, right? Like, so look at the wages, right?
Yeah.
That inflates wages, right? And European clubs, the Premier League is like the blueprint. Genius model, right? They created basically bargaining, like unionized bargaining. Yep. Basically, the 20 clubs just deal together, and it's genius.
It is quite smart when you break it down.
You're not cannibalizing against each other, and that's what happens in like Spain, right? Like Barcelona have a way bigger cut than Valencia or whatever. Real Madrid the same, right? So that means the gap between these two clubs and the rest is so big that it's not as competitive, and the clubs can't do as much. Think about it nowadays, yeah, right? I don't know, like a promoted team in the Premier League or a Brighton. Think about it. Brighton are like one of the most frugal football teams that in the world, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going out and signing players for 30 mil from the Championship.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
most
that's
Premier
great.
League teams, now outspend the likes of Barca and Real Madrid, or at the very least, I think there's some mad statistic. I'm not sure. I don't remember it right now, but I'm sure like Chelsea have spent more than the whole of La Liga.
Yeah, they've spent a bill.
So it's insane.
It's insane.
Do you get what I mean? So the Premier League is clear now.
Yeah.
But the rest of these other leagues are screwed, right?
Okay.
Italy, you had the same stuff, right? Like Juve, all of these clubs, they trying to spend to catch up, but their foundation model doesn't allow them to. So they're overstretched, and now they're struggling. They're having to sell players, balance the books. The Premier League is clear. They're doing good. And the Premier League loves the Saudi, whatever the pundits might say or whatever. The Premier League loves it, right? We've got like what Chelsea has a stake. The PIF has a stake in Chelsea.
Oh, what? Wait. Rewind that.
Of course. Are you joking?
That.
Of course.
I thought Chelsea was owned by an American owner. So how do the Saudis
who owns
get
Chelsea though? It's not just one owner, isn't it? It's what is it? It's a hedge fund.
Yes.
A PE company.
I think.
Essentially,
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, it is.
And what happens with them? Just like with a VC, you've got your LPs, your limited partners. You've got the people that give you the money to to buy the stuff you buy.
Yep.
One of them is the PIF. So when Chelsea
Interesting.
was selling Koulibaly and Mendy and Conte, and it looked like some mad inflated prices, there was a big furore because it looked like they were cheating the game.
Yes.
They were cheating the system. Who else? Newcastle. Who are they owned by? Directly by the PIF.
PIF. They literally.
There you go. The
That's
Premier League was alert to this and allowed ownership from other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back to the question of what does this mean for the future, the MLS is interesting. I think the MLS are starting to move in the right direction by focusing on LATAM in that region.
Yes, that's
so
a
they
huge
got the
growth
League
area,
Cup
yeah.
or whatever they do with Mexico. That's the right move for them. Remember, Mexico's a huge country. The rest of South America is a huge economy.
Yes.
So if you're able to tap
And their
into the
football's
sports
crazy
side,
as well. They are
crazier than any other country
yeah.
probably, right? So if you can tap into that, there's a big market for
So
you
saying
to access.
expanding south essentially, which is smart.
Instead of thinking about European clubs, because that's just geographically not as feasible. Whereas
Yes.
I think what we might see though is the Saudis finding some way into Champions League or European competition. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think
if
there's
that happens
Israeli
2-3
clubs
years.
that are allowed into the Champions League.
Right there, boom. I mean, why not? Mecca's not that far away from Tel Aviv.
Exactly. Now we're in a politics podcast, but that is facts right there.
Come on,
and,
the
Saudi Arabian League are saying the winner of the Saudi League will have they're trying to position it that they will have a wild card to play in the Champions League. So we might actually see Messi and Benzema and these man back ripping up the Champions League, just in a different color that you've never seen before, in a different shirt.
There you go, and with different teammates. Messi, not Messi, but yeah, with Ronaldo, with Benzema, with Kante, all of these guys. I really wouldn't be surprised if by 2025, 26, something like that, we see that rule change, because that's what UEFA have been doing anyway. They've been trying to expand the thing.
It makes sense for them, I guess.
Right? And remember, money matrix. We talk about money and the people behind it, right? And we talk about think about companies, right? And VCs and how there is always that pressure to just grow revenue, right? Like companies, when you have a big company, you're never like, oh, okay, this year we did the same as last year, we're good. No, you have to beat it every year, right?
Yeah.
How are UEFA going to increase their revenue? They have to expand. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see that. And we've already seen it, right? Like, think about the Club World Cup that happens. Usually it always happens in like that region.
Yep.
You know, like somewhere in Saudi or whatever. And the Saudis have been doing this for a while. Like, there's been I don't think it's La Liga games, but they do the La Liga like equivalent of the Community Shield there. I think they've done the final of the equivalent of the FA Cup, the Copa del Rey there or something. And all of these countries and economies need money. Like Europe, the US, we're not as liquid as we used to be.
Yep.
When that Saudi money
comes in, you ain't gonna say no to
say
that.
No, man.
Wicked. And I think on that note, is there any more you wanna, you know what I'm saying?
I'm just saying, I don't know who, I don't know if I'm an Al Nassr or Al Hilal fan, but you know, I'm trying to figure it out.
You're trying to figure it out,
I'm trying to figure it out.
How you gonna, is it a coin toss? Is it what are we saying?
Might have to do
we definitely I'm definitely getting a shirt though. I'm not gonna lie.
Come on, you know, yeah. I might wait like 1 or 2 years when the marketing catches up in it.
Oh, when they might make it to the Champions League as well.
When the drip really, really catches up.
I love that. So awesome. Fantastic sports deep dive from the Money Matrix boys.
There it is.
If you enjoyed this episode, let us know. If you liked our football shirts, let us know. Mickey's wearing a nice Ethiopia shirt.
Represent.
Rate the ting.
There we go.
So you got
Ridiculous.
Arsenal, Gunners. Come on, you Gunners. That ends it right here. I'm your boy Seb.
I'm Micky.
And here's another episode of the Money Matrix.